In the quiet plains of central Kansas, Hank Miller stood on his porch every morning and looked at the same 10 acres that had ruined his life. The land was stubborn and thankless. Nothing grew well on it, no matter how hard he worked. His wife Grace was inside the small, creaky house, fighting for every breath because of her failing heart. They had almost no money left for her medicine. Their 4 children had already made their choice. Mark, Lisa, Kevin, and Rachel had left years ago. They were ashamed of their poor father and the useless land he refused to sell. Before leaving, they made sure to humiliate him. "You're killing Mom with your stubbornness," Mark had said coldly during his last visit. "That land is worthless. Everyone in town knows it. You're just too proud to admit you failed." The others said similar things. One by one, they stopped calling. Holidays passed in silence. Hank and Grace were left completely alone. Grace's condition got worse. Hank took every small job he could find, but it was never enough. He would sit by her bed at night and whisper, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I can't give you better." Then, on an ordinary spring morning, everything changed. 3 men in dark suits arrived at his door. They told him the state and federal government had chosen his land for a massive new airport, a $5 billion project. His 10 acres sat exactly where the main terminal and one runway needed to go. After months of meetings, appraisals, and legal papers, Hank Miller, the man who couldn't afford his wife's medicine, walked away with over $160 million. The first thing he did was get Grace to the best heart specialists in the country. Within months, she could breathe again, she could walk without stopping, she smiled like she used to. Hank had saved her life. For a short while, it felt like a miracle, but the money also brought something else. His children started calling again. At first, Hank was cautious. Then they visited, they brought gifts, they cried. They said they were sorry for leaving and that they wanted to be a family again. Hank, being the man he was, slowly let them back in. He set up trust funds for each of them and their children. He gave them money for houses and businesses, but something felt off. They smiled too much. They agreed with everything he said a little too quickly. When he made a decision they didn't like, they would tilt their heads and say gently, "Dad, are you sure you're thinking clearly? The money changed you, you're becoming paranoid." Lisa especially was good at it. "We're just worried about you. You keep saying people are only after your money, maybe it's all in your head." Hank started second-guessing himself. Was he really becoming difficult? Was the money making him see enemies everywhere? He began having trouble sleeping. He would lie awake wondering if he was losing his mind. The same children who had called him a failure when he was poor were now treating him like he was fragile and confused. One evening after a big family dinner, Mark pulled him aside. "Dad, we think it would be better if we helped manage some of the money. You've been through a lot. Let us take care of things so you can rest." Hank felt a cold feeling in his chest. For the first time, he clearly saw it. They weren't here for him. They were here for the money. He refused. The smiles disappeared. Arguments started. Accusations flew. They told him he was selfish, that he had changed, that he didn't trust his own family. Hank stood his ground, but every word felt like it was chipping away at him. Then one by one they stopped coming. The calls became shorter, then they stopped completely. Hank sat alone in his large, quiet house. Grace was sleeping upstairs. The silence was heavy. He walked from room to room, looking at the expensive furniture and feeling more empty than when he had nothing. He had given them everything they asked for. He had opened his heart again, and they had still left. Worse than that, they had made him doubt his own mind. He sat on the porch late one night, staring into the darkness. For the first time in his life, Hank Miller wondered if he was truly going crazy. That's when he noticed it. Across the street, under the shadow of a tree, someone was standing completely still, watching his house. Hank squinted. It was a young man. He couldn't see his face clearly, but the figure didn't move. He just stood there watching. Hank's heart started beating faster. Who was he? How long had he been there? And why did it feel like this stranger knew exactly what was happening inside his home? Hank stood up slowly. The figure didn't run. He simply turned and walked away into the night. For the first time since the money came, Hank felt something worse than loneliness. He felt like he was being watched, and he had no idea if the person watching him was there to hurt him or to save him. To be continued in Part 2.